So if you're a backend engineer and a software engineer, you need to be building, like you need to like building. Not building enough is a mistake that it can cost you a lot, can cost you a job. If it doesn't do one thing right, fluttering is going to either lose money or spend money. Okay? The more experience that you have, the more valuable that you become. So AIs would never have context. So it is the context that we are able to give to AI. That is what AI is going to produce the output from.
Hello everyone, today I have here with me Mr. Solomon Eseme, the founder and CTO of masteringbackend.com. He's a technical writer, a software engineer who has worked in several companies, one of which is Andela. And his platform, Mastering Backend, have over 100 users learning backend engineering. And today he's going to help aspiring backend engineers, current backend engineer, and those who aspire to be anything software or backend engineering. He's the right person to listen to.
So my name is Solomon Eseme, and I am a software engineer, first of all. But now I am the founder of Mastering Backend and also the CTO of Mastering Backend at the same time. And yeah, over the past years, I've been building systems and building software. First of all, actually, I started as a blogger, writing content on different blogs before I now dive into software engineering. And even with that, I still write a lot. I still write technical content. If you check my Medium page and my publication, that is backend developers. I still write content and even on the marketing backend blog.
Wow.
Okay, yeah. So that's that's
that,
a
that's,
little.
that's right. So, what is backend engineering and what does it entail to be a backend engineer? And can anyone become one, become a backend engineer?
Engineering basically is, you know, it kind of an aspect of software engineering that focuses on the behind the scene activities of a, a product or a web page or a website, right? Whatever you want to call it. Okay. So the functionalities, the activities that happen when you log in, for example, when you log in or when you try to log in, the part that validates your details and make sure that you have already been registered before, all of these activities, right, that happen is categorized as backend engineering. Basically, is the ability to build the business logic of a system or the business logic of a platform or a website that you're currently working on. Okay, so that is what backend engineering entails. And then the second part of the question, you asked if anyone at all can become a backend engineer. The short answer
Yes.
to that is yes. Then the long answer could be okay, there are certain things that you need to know, or there are certain traits that you need to actually have to be able to do well in the aspect of backend engineering, right? Because we have front end, we have back end. So somebody that is more inclined to maybe colors and creativity and stuff like that could be aligned with, let's say, front end, or somebody that is logical, somebody that thinks in the logical sense and all of that could be inclined towards back end and stuff. So these are some of the things that you also need to look into, and identify that and be truthful to yourself if it is an aspect that you would, want to go into. But of course, anybody at all can learn back end engineering.
All right. So, can you define the roadmap to like learning backend engineering in 2025? No, I specifically mentioned 2025. Someone in future could be in future in past, but right now with everything that's going, what do you think is the right path to learning backend engineering? Also, let's take for instance the person did not come from a technical background, all right, no
Mm.
computer science degree or computer engineering degree, what roadmap would you give him to mastering backend engineering?
Yeah, yeah, that's nice. Backend is, like I said before, it is an aspect, right, of software engineering. So I would say it is inside software engineering, right? So if you do not have any experience whatsoever, either from computer science or anywhere, and you want to learn backend engineering, it is possible, but you need to do more work than somebody that has these fundamentals, right? So what I would say is, first of all, identify, kind of know what computers are, right? Be familiar with using computers, because that's how I started, right? I started learning how to use computers, and I got really familiar with, playing around with systems. You understand? And then I started learning Excel, Access back in the day, and all of this. Now, these are not things that are really, really necessary for you to learn backend. These are just so that you are familiar with the laptop or maybe the system that you'll be using to build backend products, right? So once you get that off, since you don't have any computer experience, this is where I believe you will start. Okay, so just get yourself familiarized with using laptops and using computers, and once you're done with that, then you get into the tech world by exploring different careers in tech. You understand? So you know that we have software engineering, we have cybersecurity, we have different other aspects of tech. Okay, so get yourself familiar with them, what each of them means, so that maybe if you're having a conversation with somebody, they don't just throw you off guard because you don't have depth knowledge about even um,
The
technology.
industry.
Yeah. Okay. So this is what I would do, just solidifying my fundamentals before
Mm,
even thinking about going into software engineering, right?
mm,
Now, once you're done with these fundamentals, so the next step is identifying that you want to be a software engineer, and you start with the fundamentals of software engineering, right? So what I believe that you will learn is internet, what is internet, you know, how the web works, how they even start building webs, how Facebook is built, all these kind of things, how Facebook is built, and all of that. Okay, so once you're done with that fundamental, I think at that point, you now can identify two types of software engineering. I mean, two aspects, not like types, right? Two aspects of software engineering, which is like front end and then back end. And then from back end now, you now go down to like having DevOps and all of these people, right? So you now decide, okay, I want to pick back end. All right. So once you're able to decide that you want to pick backend, so what you need to start learning is a language, right? So start with picking a language. So from the fundamentals that you've been learning, I would believe that you were introduced to JavaScript. You understand? So you may have been introduced to JavaScript somehow, and because you were learning how web works. So at that point, you might have written a few HTML and CSS and then JavaScript. So since you have a base knowledge of JavaScript, so I always recommend that people start with JavaScript in the backend. The reason is simple. I'm not saying JavaScript is the best. JavaScript is a language, and just like other ones. But the reason why I always recommend it is because they already have like knowledge of it coming from the fundamentals that they've been learning, assuming they've learned JavaScript somehow, right? So pick JavaScript and move down to the backend part. So start learning, Node.js, from there, right? The next thing that you need to learn is a framework, right? So pick a framework of JavaScript. I always recommend Express because Express kind of um, gives you an exposure to how different other frameworks actually works. You understand? So it allows you to build out your own system, allows you to make errors, I mean, make mistakes, allows you to be successful building out your own system by yourself, rather than relying on a framework that already has lots of layers of they've already built things on top of it. Okay, so that's why I would recommend Express, but it doesn't matter, man. You can pick any other framework that really seems fits to you. Okay, all right. So now, while learning the language and framework, you should at this point learn databases, right? Because you cannot be doing backend without connecting to a backend, right? So at this point, you should have learned databases. So there will be a point where, okay, excuse me, you can decide to say, okay, now that I have basic knowledge of a language and basic knowledge of a framework and basic knowledge of databases, let me now dedicate a few times to learn database in depth. So the third thing that you need to know learn is databases. So you now go in depth into learning database management. So you can pick any database of your choice. I will always recommend Postgre because it's a relational database and it's good. Okay, so deep dive into Postgre, learn the intricacies of Postgre and everything about database management. Okay, so after that, the next thing is how to actually build APIs. So what you've been doing before is learning languages and frameworks. You haven't really learned how to build production-ready APIs. Okay, so now is the time because now you now have knowledge of frameworks, you now have knowledge of database and the language, so you can actually combine both to build out a scalable API. Okay, so start learning API and API design. Okay, it's very important. So once you're able to build different types of API, the next thing that you need to do is to start building projects. All right. So these projects that you're building is not practice project anymore. They are now, real world projects that you can show somebody that you built it. Right. So I always recommend that you build 30 of them, but
Wow. Wow.
30 look like seems so much.
Yes.
But if you build 30, of these heavy projects, I mean, APIs are like different management systems, hospital management, I don't know, library management, all of
Wow.
these. All right, and maybe one fintech. If you're able to build 30 of them, while you have the time to learn, then you will know where you are at that point. Okay, but 10 is also okay. Depends on the project that you pick out of the 10, right?
Wow. Wow.
So yeah, after you're able to build these different things, I believe the next thing is really, really deep diving into hosting and cloud services. Now, while you were building these different, projects, you may have been hosting it somewhere, using all these render, Heroku that just does the deployment process for you. But now you need to dedicate time to actually learn AWS, GCP, and how to actually, you know, do the deployment yourself instead of using these services that automates the process for you. Okay, so deep dive into hosting and stuff. So this is like the base. This is what you do, all right. And at this point, somebody can call you a backend engineer, no doubt, all right. But then the next thing is what makes you a professional backend engineer, or what I like to say, a great backend
Yeah.
engineer, right?
Yeah.
So the next is simple, is you start to learn code quality, start to learn security, start to learn performance, right? So these three things is going to expose you to a whole lot of things about backend engineering. All right. So first of all, security. How can you secure the APIs that you've created? So if you are faced with a um, a hacker, right? Are you sure your API is going to be able to withstand different threats that this hacker is going to send to your endpoints, right? So you need to always think in that aspect. And then the next thing is code quality. So why quality is important is if somebody else wants to join you in this project, or if somebody wants to maybe you're no longer maintaining the project and somebody wants to maintain the project for you, how would the person feel, right? Would the person be welcome into the code base, or would the person will have to spend like 2 months trying to understand what you've written? Okay, so you need to also learn how to structure your code. So in this point now, you start learning things like architectural design patterns, you start learning design patterns, you start learning solid principles. So these are like a whole lot of things that
Wow.
you'll be learning under code quality and readability. And then the next thing is performance. So performance is very important. So how do you optimize your APIs in a way that it can withstand loads? Maybe you have 1 million users overnight.
Wow. Yeah. I wow.
Would your API be able to withstand that kind of load? All
Mm.
right. And also, how are you able to cache your APIs? Okay, so performance here now you learn things like caching, you learn things like optimizing your database queries, all right, and then you also learn things like going into your database separately to optimize things rather than doing application level optimization. You now go down to database level optimization to be able to make sure that things are fast and well performant. So these three things that I just mentioned is where you would be, throughout your career,
Wow.
right?
Well,
Throughout your career as a backend
it
engineer.
just gave from beginner to advanced level. Yeah.
Yeah, so you just
So
get, really advanced from there.
yeah, so that is so extensive. We started from the list, which we said was become computer user, become a computer user, become a power user of a computer. All right. So from becoming a power user of a computer, you learn the fundamentals. What are the fundamentals? Fundamentals of how the system application work, how application works. Read articles. After reading articles, know how they work, know how Google work, and the rest. Then you now pick a language to learn. And for Mr. Solomon, it seems like JavaScript is his favorite. Yeah, so
JavaScript, I use JavaScript a lot. Like, since 2017, I've been using JavaScript
wow,
more.
so
But
JavaScript
not
is not
like
good anyway.
my favorite language is actually PHP.
Eee.
But I've
Wow.
been using JavaScript since. I just like to recommend JavaScript. I am, assuming that the person that wants to pick a language already have fundamentals of
Just
JavaScript. So
somewhere.
there's no
All
need,
right.
yeah, there's no need switching. You
All
can
right.
just continue from there, right?
JavaScript. Then from JavaScript, learn a framework, a backend framework, and you mentioned Express because Express will teach you a lot about other frameworks you could learn. And one thing about
Yes.
programming or software engineering field is that if you could master a framework well, master the concept well, every other one you could pick it up. All right. So from there to databases, you learn how to interact with databases, right? Databases, and he recommended PostgreSQL PostgreSQL database, then building APIs, API designs, which you mentioned build 30, build as many as 30. Yeah, it might be seeming like it's a lot, but these 30 APIs will give you a strong fundament that really hone down your skill very well, and it will make you like into still confidence because a lot of you just see one single coding error, you spend maybe 3 hours on it and you're already frustrated. Meanwhile, there are some errors that could spend weeks debugging. All right. So building 10 is enough to withstand your agility, give you agility to face those kind of projects. After building APIs, you move to real world projects, like you said, then hosting and cloud services. Then after that, advance, you start looking at the security of what you built, the code quality, if someone else read what you wrote, and so on, then performance. Then he just mentioned it from beginners to advanced level for you. So if you'll be looking for a roadmap to learn backend engineering, we are just heard it from Mr. Solomon himself, the best roadmap you could take. All right. So, Mr. Solomon, you have really said a lot. So, I want to narrow it down. What are some common mistakes beginners can make when learning backend development?
Yeah, one of the popular mistake that I've seen is not building enough projects, right?
Hmm.
So it is not just beginners. Like I also make
Hey,
this I also make
wow.
this mistake also, right? Not building enough project is a very big mistake. Honestly, like you're going to be you're going to be I don't know if this word is going to qualify what I want to say. You're going to be ignorant of a lot of things.
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah,
You're going
yeah,
to
yeah.
actually of a whole lot of things if you've
Hmm.
not built plenty projects. This is not a joke, right? Say for example now, some people say they can learn on the job. Learning on the job is okay. The reason why sometimes I feel that learning on the job is bad is because for some persons they are not able to pick up that kind of pace. Learning on the job requires you to be very fast, a very fast learner. You understand? And then maybe the company to be able to kind of take it easy with you,
Hmm. Yeah.
right? Take it easy with you. But for some companies, it's not like that. And for you, you might not be able to learn very fast. So that is why you need to dedicate time to build a whole lot of projects. Say, for example, somebody hires you to come and build a fintech application for them. You cannot say you will learn on the job because fintech is very, very, you know, the security level of a fintech application is high. You need to have experience and you need to have
Hmm.
context. That is very important. You need to have experience and context when building fintech applications. And you cannot tell me you will learn on the job for that. That is the reason why you need every chance that you have as a backend engineer, you need to try out different projects, right? You need to have experience, at least experience, right? Building different types of projects, all right? So you can pick fintech, health tech, whatever project, but just keep building things so that you have, experience when you now have the real job. At least
Hmm.
at that point when you say, I want to now learn on the job. You will not be completely starting, you will not start completely from zero.
Yeah, yeah, true.
Have experience.
You have enough experience to back your learning.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because even in as much as everything is backend, right? Different projects defines different types of backend, the different type of backend that you will be, right? So if you build plenty fintech products, that means you have core experience in fintech and you are a fintech backend engineer. That's the way.
Hmm. That's where
That's the way.
specialization comes in.
Right? That's what I like
Yeah.
to categorize it because you have experience in that field, right? You're now a fintech backend engineer. So if a company wants to hire and you see that this company is building fintech products, you notice that your experience and the way you talk in that interview or whatever is going to be very, very, it's going to change from the way that you talk when you don't have experience in that aspect at all. So that is one of the mistakes that people make in backend engineering. They don't build enough,
Hmm.
right? Every other mistake can be you can correct it, right? Whether you did not learn the fundamentals, you can go back and learn the fundamentals,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. But not
But
building enough.
not building enough is a mistake that it can cost you a lot, can cost you a job, right? Because the company might not be patient enough for you to pick up their pace. Okay, so any slight chance that you have, you need to build products, you need to build things. Even if you're not launching them, you need to build it and have it in your local host, right?
Another aspect of it, but we should get there, sha, because a lot of people will say that the drive to build, not many people have the drive to build, right? So they believe that, okay, what are we building? What am I building for? Not many can build 30 projects just for learning, right? They rather just go solve lead code problems instead of building those programs because they believe that solving those lead code problems are key aspect to landing those jobs, right? So
Mm.
that is one aspect to it. What do you have to say concerning this?
Yeah. So in terms of drive to build, of course, not everybody has that, but if you're a software engineer, you just like a doctor that says he doesn't like to heal people.
Mm.
How is a doctor and then you don't like healing people, right?
Mm.
So if you're a backend engineer and a software engineer, you need to be building, like you need to like building.
Mm.
So
So it
but
seems like this is a trait. This is a trait. You see, a trait
yes,
he
of course.
mentioned.
Like what will you be doing? What else will you be doing? Like, okay, let's say the days that you don't have the months, I mean, that you don't have a job, what will you be doing? Like you just be sitting down and be watching YouTube channel and be what? Anyways,
Going from tutorial to tutorial.
one thing I wanted to say about you mentioned lead code, and one thing I want to say is this. So lead code problems, that is algorithmic, I mean problems, right? Those
Yes,
kind of
yes.
problems. They do two things for me, and this is my personal opinion, right? They do two things. First, they help me scale through interview, all
Mm.
right? They help me scale through interview for companies that you know, gives that kind of technical interviews. All right. And then the second thing, which is like the most important thing, is they help me to debug problems very fast. Do you
Mm.
understand? So if I have a task to solve a particular thing or to solve a particular feature or build a particular feature, you know, when I am coding, when I have understood the task, right, and I now want to, start coding the task,
Mm.
that is where, the lead code challenges that I have been solving, that is where it now comes in. It helps me with logic building. I don't know
Mm.
if you understand.
Yeah,
So it
yeah.
helps me with logic building. So if I want to look through an array and collect like, you know, 20 things, I will have like a way to do it faster. Do
Mm.
you understand? Or a way to do it better.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So it helps me with logic building and it helps me pass interview. So that is why I say data structure and algorithm is important. All
Mm.
right, but it is good that you learn it because it helps you with logic building. But when it comes to experience, right? So experience is not logic building. It is
Mm.
not logic, right? It is something that that you have experienced, like you've done it countless of times. You know what
Mm.
works and what doesn't work. Do you understand? So that is what companies are looking for. If the company is hiring a senior engineer, they're not hiring you to come and solve data structure and algorithm problems. They're hiring you. Sorry, they're hiring you to come with your experience to tell them that this road that they are taking now is either
Mm.
going to fail or is going to succeed. That is what that is
Yeah.
what they're hiring. So, so that is what I want to say. That is why building products or building things, even when you don't have a job at the moment, building different things, serves as a way for you to have that experience, in your field.
Yeah. Wow. That is an amazing answer right there. That is just summed it up very well. Right. So this will be our second to our last question for the day, and this one is very interesting indeed. For one that is intended to transition from front end to back end, what is the mindset shift one need to have, all right, to perform such transition successfully? There's this very popular argument that I just changed a button and everybody's saying wow, 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 wow. Meanwhile, the back end engineer looking at the front end engineer, it's because of me this whole application is working. But the fact is that you can't show people would not understand what is happening in the back end. But a front end engineer, you're building everything and it kind of motivates you because you're building what you can see. Right? So what's the mindset shift a front-end engineer will have to have in order to migrate to become a back-end engineer?
All right, thinking about this, I'm trying to know how to put it. Um, I think, I don't know, my journey has been kind of somehow. I think I first started with front end and then moved to back end, and now I'm doing front end and back end and things like that.
Hmm.
So, so what I would say is, right, a few things that I've noticed is for front end, right, we are thinking of the user.
Hmm.
Do you understand? A front end person is thinking about the user. What I mean by that is they're thinking about the user interaction. They're thinking about the user's experience if the person actually knows what he's doing with his computer. And then you're thinking of the user's time.
Yeah.
You understand? So that is what a front end person thinks about. Deep down, no matter that they do all the color and all of that, but these are the things that they actually think about. For a backend person doesn't think about the user. A backend person actually thinks about the business.
Hmm.
You understand? So you're
Interesting.
thinking about how will the business not, how will the business save money, right?
Hmm.
How will the business actually um, not lose money, right? And generally, you're thinking about the business and how to secure the business interest. Do you
Yeah.
understand?
Yeah.
So the front
Yes.
end person thinks about the user, while the back end person thinks about the business.
Hmm.
So we have Flutter Wave as a product. The front end person there is thinking about Flutter Wave users,
Hmm.
their experience with Flutter Wave. But the back end person is thinking about the Flutter Wave company.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Flutterwave company. The reason why I said that is if it doesn't do one thing right, Flutterwave is going to either lose money or spend money. Do you understand?
Hmm.
So he's there to make sure that Flutterwave doesn't lose money or Flutterwave doesn't spend money. Okay, by securing the endpoints, by making sure that the endpoint is fast, by making sure that you test the endpoint correctly before sending it out to the front end people or any clients that want to consume their endpoint. Okay, so that is how I feel like I can summarize it. So if you started thinking about business, the products that you are building, how you can secure the people that owns the product,
Yeah.
then I welcome to the back end part.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you think about the user, their experience, how they are going to interact with your buttons, and how the button is going to shake if something is wrong, then no problem. You are still in the front end part. Okay.
Well, I like the analogy. It's very, very straightforward. Like you just summed it up very well, perfectly. Right. So just let's summarize it all. And like, what's your general advice for anyone interested in tech? Just your final word for us to do.
Yeah. So my final word is simple. Have experience and context. The reason why I said that is we are in 2025 and we can see what AIs can do now. All
Hmm.
right. There is a whole new like a YouTube channel dedicated to people that build products without coding. They just sit down, and vibe code their product.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, of course, I do that myself. Like, if you look at one of my products, Expense completely vibe coded. But one thing that is sure is one thing that is sure is experience and context is always going to remain constant. Okay? The more experience that you have, the more valuable that you become. Okay? So no matter the age of AI and stuff, when I vibe code my product, right? The AI did what it can, but I still have to tell the AI again, or I still have to come in and kind of do things the way my experience level is to make sure that the product comes out the way I would want it to be. Okay,
Hmm.
so have experience, and the ways you can have experience is not by working. You don't have to be working in 5, 6, 10 companies to have experience. in the one company that you are working, you can have many experience, right? If you have time, you can build different products. Like I said, build like 30 different products, all right?
Yeah.
But if you don't have time, learn on the like from the company, like branch to different things, right? Learn different things, different aspect of doing things, suggest different things to them, and see, the different improvements that you can bring. And overall, just gain experience. Okay. For the context part, so AIs would never have context because I don't know, humans have like high level of reasoning. I'm not a biology person, so
Yeah.
right? So it is the context that we are able to give to AI. That is what AI is going to produce the output from, right?
Mm.
So context is still important. So you have to learn how to actually be able to, you know, put out your experience and put it into context for this AI to be able to generate products for you. And if you have these two things, I think you still scale through in your career. So for beginners, learning fundamentals, learning the programming language, all of this stuff is important, but more important is experience and context now. So
Wow.
that's what I would say.
Wow. Wow. This is amazing. Thank you so much, Mr. Solomon. Like we heard a lot of nuggets from you, and very sure we'll be coming back to patronize mastering backend. All right.
Of course. So okay, we are kind of building like a new platform. So over the years, like the experiences I've noticed that backend people, they are always scared of front end, and we are solving that problem once and for all. So you'll
Hmm.
be able to practice core backend, build APIs, and you have your front end already built for you. So the endpoints that you deliver, the front end is going to automatically start working based on the endpoint that you've built.
Please
Okay.
sign me up. I'm your first user. Wow. So well, I've heard from Mr. Solomon himself, the founder and CTO of Mastering Backend, and he just delivered stunning information. So if you're interested in backend engineering, make sure you will watch and rewatch this video several times.
And find me everywhere.
Find